Hey there, this is the One Boom, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have been thinking about, your own opinions on Black Ops 7. We've had a long time to think about all of the early release information that they gave us, but the one thing that's been plaguing your mind is, what does the One Boom think? So hey there, this is the most important opinion on the internet, and we're going to be talking about Black Ops 7. Basically, this is just a rundown of all my thoughts after watching trailers, watching the Treyarch little multiplayer deep dive they did, and watching other YouTubers' videos about it, and the recent carry forward news. So at the end of this video, I do have just an unscripted rant I'm going to be doing about the COD community and what's going on in the COD community, but I want to first not waste your time and jump right into just my bullet point opinions on Black Ops 7 as it stands right now on August 28th, 2025. Alright, so first things first, we have to talk about the setting, the futuristic setting of Black Ops 7. The last near-future game that we got was Black Ops 4. It's been like 7-8 years now since that game came out. That is a long time to wait for a new near-future title. And personally, I'm just hoping the futuristic setting gives way to new ideas and concepts that won't be glaringly bad juxtaposed against a more grounded time period. Like gear, perks, streaks, attachments, and maps will have a lot more leeway with design decisions and with the community's response, because the fictional near future setting doesn't have the same stringent connotations as something grounded, modern, or historical. Doing sort of a near future thing just opens up more opportunities to be creative and inventive, and I hope that they really take advantage of that. So if you're wondering what's my opinion on the fact that it's a futuristic setting, that's my opinion on it being a futuristic setting. But with the futuristic setting, we have advanced movements. We're gonna talk about wall jumps, and in my opinion, they seem kind of great. I love purposeful, dedicated movement tech that's gonna have its own skill gap. It won't feel like an exploit. So much of the high skill movement mechanics in modern COD, like since Warzone's been out, they don't really feel like you're playing a mechanic. They feel like you're taking advantage of movement mechanics, and instead of learning a purposeful set of skills required for higher level play, it seems to just be how to break the game, how to exploit the game's movement. Like slide canceling didn't feel like high skill movement tech, it felt like a movement exploit that high level players took advantage of. And I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not saying all the movement tech in the last 10 years has been just, exploits, but a lot of it feels like that. People said this all the way back with drop shotting and jump shotting back in the 360 era of COD. Because it's not boots on ground, predictable, makes sense, it feels like the player that you're fighting is exploiting the game somehow, and I can't argue with that. It does kind of feel like that, especially in those higher levels of play when people are sliding, jumping, and dashing around. It's kind of crazy. So seeing some dedicated movement mechanics that people can actually learn and master, take advantage of, and get some sweet clips with, I'm actually very excited for. So yeah, this seems like a step in the right direction and a little bit of a move away from the part of movement play I don't like in Call of Duty, and instead it's going to strike a nice middle ground somewhere between something like Advanced Warfare and classic just boots on ground predictable COD. They also talked about how the maps are designed to give you more freedom of movement and space to play around with Omni movement and the wall jumps, so I'm excited to see how this is going to affect map design, because it's going to have to, because it's not just wall running, which just changes the way a lane plays, it's verticality wall play. So because you can double jump off of two different walls, verticality is now going to have to be designed into the maps in an interesting way. But talking about movement and mechanics like that, we have perks for slide aiming and tack sprinting. So you have to actually have a perk equipped to aim down your sights while sliding or to tack sprint. And honestly, these things being tied to perks instead of being just on by default makes a ton of sense to me. Hear me out. If you're the type of player that can take advantage of movement mechanics to break ankles and, break cameras and frustrate other players, then equipping the what currently unnamed slide aiming perk, I think it's actually just going to be the dexterity perk that allows this, but equipping the slide aiming perk on your aggressive class is a no-brainer. But if you don't play like that, if you're not an aggressive player, if you don't like melding sliding in with your gunplay, then the ability's sort of lost on you. I think having to spec into movement play isn't really a bad thing. Same with tack sprint. I can see myself wanting to have a tack sprint perk occasionally so I can get that sudden burst of speed, maybe an objective class where I need to get to B flag as fast as possible. Maybe tack sprint would be good on that class, but I don't really need that all the time on every class. So turning those things into mechanics that you spec into with perks, I think is going to be good, because then movement players that want as many movement options and movement combat options as possible are going to have to build their loadout for that instead of just being able to run a fully resistant, fully stealth, fully fast loadout and then having those things in addition. Instead, you have to build for them, and I do not think that's a problem. If you find that to be a crutch and you need them, then that's literally means it's made for you. If that seems like a crutch to you, then it's made for you. But I'm definitely talking to at least several of you that have never really been into slide combat, and you're not going to equip those perks because that doesn't really matter to you. And in talking about tack sprinting and slide aiming, tack stance is coming back into the game, and that's a super welcome change to see. Being able to split the difference between accuracy and speed in a game with both omni movement and wall jumping makes total sense. Happy to see it return. I love tack stance. The people that didn't understand the point of tack stance, I'm really sorry, you missed out on a fantastic mechanic if you weren't clearing rooms with it, because if you are strafing into a room in tack stance, you're just moving faster, you're not sacrificing too much accuracy in close range, and then your jump shots and everything were just faster and more fluid. It felt really good. Also, you didn't have your iron sights in your face or your red dot or whatever, your optic, your scope in your face. It allowed you to have still close range and mid-range combat with a scope attached without having to aim down a scope, which was pretty great. So I'm happy to see that return, especially in a game that seems to be playing a lot faster. Again, the ability to split that difference is going to be really cool. Then we're going to talk about a big subject here, carry forward. Carry forward, I didn't talk about it before because I felt like it was going to change, and boy did it. Carry forward is not coming to Black Ops 7. Your unlocks, your weapons and everything are going to stay in Black Ops 6. You're not going to get your skins, your bundles, or anything. All you get is gobblegums and double XP tokens. Everything else is staying in that game to preserve the iconicness of Black Ops 7. Now, carry forward is something I've advocated for a lot in the past and still to a degree do. I like the idea of a direct sequel COD game containing all of the meaningful content from the previous title. Going from one Modern Warfare game directly into a direct sequel that takes place canonically within the same year as the story and everything, it's just the next game, the next part of the story. Yeah, it made sense for all of MW2's weapons to carry forward into MW3. With Black Ops 7, it makes less sense. Black Ops 7 is not a direct sequel to the events of Black Ops 6. Despite the names, Black Ops 7 takes place after Black Ops 2, before Black Ops 3, not after 6. So this is our actual Black Ops 2 sequel, our actual Black Ops 3 prequel, so carry forward doesn't make total sense here. There is a genuine clash of time period, setting, theme, aesthetic, everything. Whereas it didn't feel weird getting the M4 carried forward from Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3, it would feel weird to see the XM4 be carried forward into a futuristic game that takes place in 2035. Now, I wouldn't have minded getting any Black Ops 6 weapons in Black Ops 7, but there's a bigger picture to examine here. Black Ops 6 skins, even outside of the crazy, ugly, and weird collab skins, are a part of a different game and atmosphere. If we were angry about microtransaction skins ruining the aesthetic of Black Ops 6, why would we advocate for Black Ops 6 skins, even the good ones, muddying up and hurting the aesthetic of Black Ops 7? Same for the weapons. I think using retro firearms in a futuristic COD game is cool, really cool. But it should be a novelty in a futuristic game, not a full arsenal download all at once. I think getting a full arsenal all at once is also just something that, if it happened, we would be excited for a little bit, and then would take for granted a few hours after it was added. Their original plan was to just give us all of the Black Ops 6 weapons in Season 1 of Black Ops 7. So at first you'd be like, oh, here's all my Black Ops 6 stuff, and then it's yeah, if you played Black Ops 6, then you aren't going to be excited for that for very long. So instead of an entire arsenal that you take for granted, I think they should handle it differently. We'll talk about that more in a second. If you didn't play Black Ops 6 at all, then all of the weapons being added would just be a new overwhelming amount of weapons. It would just be an overwhelming new arsenal of stuff to unlock and level up throughout the whole frickin' year. So that's the thing. A massive dual theme arsenal I think would just damage the game's iconicness. It would hurt the balance of the game because the game would go from having to keep 30 weapons in balance to 80 weapons in balance. And the balance of the game still needs to matter, right? Adding 50 Black Ops 6 guns all at once would drown out the 30 weapons that were actually designed for Black Ops 7. There's a really cool way they could implement it, but we'll talk about that later. But again, for those of you saying, well, not every skin in Black Ops 6 was bad, so I should be able to get my skins ported over, No, I'm sorry, you bought a skin in Black Ops 6. Each COD game every year does need to justify being its own game, and we're not going to do that if we constantly just go, well, my stuff was purchased last year, why doesn't it work this year? For a direct sequel, like again, Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3, same universe, same characters, same everything, it makes sense. But for this, it just doesn't. So again, if we were saying that like weird cosmetics and dopey stuff hurt the aesthetic integrity of Black Ops 6, why would we advocate for that happening in Black Ops 7? Let's not immediately muddy the game with a bunch of different skins that are not period accurate for a futuristic shooter, or that are just goofy and ridiculous, and then a bunch of weapons that also don't belong in this time period. We'll talk about that more later. Now I want to talk about something way more positive. We have beautiful UI. Why is the UI important? Well, this is something a bit nostalgic, but hear me out. After Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone came out, there was a certain level of like homogenization that happened with the UI elements that longtime players noticed immediately and weren't happy with. Like after Vanguard came out, and Vanguard basically had the same UI, like, and I'm talking about in-screen UI, like your HUD, your heads-up display. It looked very similar to the previous games, even though like the games before it was like a Cold War era game and a modern era game, the World War II game looked very similar. And all of them sort of don't fit in with the themes of the game. The heads-up display doesn't feel modern or vintage or retro. The heads-up display is just sort of there. It's just raw information. It doesn't really feel like anything. But this new one feels crisp and futuristic. It feels like it belongs in the world the game takes place in, and that does stand out to me as a good sign. Looking back at most of the 7th and 8th generation of COD, you can plainly see that each game had its own identity. Mainly breaking it down to the color grading, UI, sound designs, those stood out the most. But in order for each game in this annual release cycle to feel justified, there has to be something, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, something that smacks you in the face immediately upon glancing at the screen. Something that will say, I'm not last year's game. I'm a different setting, I'm a different world, I'm a different dev team, and they nailed that. The new heads-up display, the new UI, looks beautiful, and it makes the game feel less homogenized, and with it being another Black Ops game 1 year after the last one, I think that's actually really important. So that's why that matters to me, so I thought I would mention it. So now we're gonna talk about looping streaks. You can loop streaks with a perk. Just like slide aiming or tac sprint, not every player is seeing a benefit all the time, and it was the same with looping streaks. While I would just prefer seeing looping streaks be on by default, I think this is a perk will help players more than you might think. So walk with me here. Seeing a perk that offers you the ability to loop streaks is going to actually activate the player's brain into actively playing to achieve the desired result. A large reason players are struggling to go on longer streaks and improve at the game is because streaks end up feeling like this strange background mechanic that they might see or actually take full advantage of every 10 matches or so outside of UAVs and, you know, anything like below a 10 kill streak. But building your playstyle around going on streaks with your perk combination will hopefully encourage players that otherwise would see streak play as rare or unobtainable, and they'll instead see it as something to play for, which is a major gameplay hook that many people miss out on in the series, thus never experiencing one of the greatest feelings COD has to offer. That is, if the streaks don't suck. But I think it's cool because the average player really just doesn't interact with streaks in the same way that a higher skilled player does. I know how to make my class for going on streaks and adjust my playstyle to make sure that my streaks are more easily obtained. Not everybody does this. Not everybody knows how to do this. So hopefully when they go through their perks and see that one perk allows them to loop streaks, they'll maybe play for streaks and have more fun, and it'll hook a player. A lot of players are hooked on COD because they like got a VTOL warship in Black Ops 2 and dominated the enemy team, called in a swarm in Black Ops 2, right? They got in a Reaper in Modern Warfare 3 or the Chopper Gunner in Modern Warfare 2, and they got hooked on that dopamine release. And I hope this encourages people that have been playing every year or just started playing that just don't think about streaks as important to hopefully equip them. Same with like how Kill Chain was in Modern Warfare 2019, and how like the Hardline perk I think was originally supposed to provide this for players. Turning streaks into something you can build a loadout around is something COD's been trying to do for a while, and so I don't mind looping streaks with a perk, even though I would prefer looping streaks to just be something you can do by default. Another thing that's gotten confirmed is that we are going to get weekly challenges like we got with Modern Warfare 3. And weekly challenges were a major step in the correct direction with Modern Warfare 3. And I'm talking about, 2023's Modern Warfare 3. But the weekly challenges giving you actual aftermarket parts, unique attachments, weapons, and interesting like pieces of equipment. I actually really appreciated that. I really liked it. It kept people coming back. It's a major reason that the player base was so consistent throughout the life cycle of MW3, despite there not being much hype for the game. I mean, every new week you get a new challenge and a new unlock and repeat. It's so simple, so effective, really just chef's kiss. I don't have much else to say except, wouldn't this be a cool place to start hiding the Black Ops 6 weapons somewhere around like season 2 or 3? Like after we haven't seen Black Ops 6 guns in a while, and we've sort of experienced everything there is to experience in Black Ops 7. If you're like me, by season 3 you have played way too much of the current COD, but it'd be kind of cool if then they started doing like weekly challenges to unlock Black Ops 6 weapons, so you could get some retro weapons in your inventory throughout the life cycle of the game. I would definitely hop on to unlock like an AK or an M4 or something like retro and conventional, and then it can be its own gun that doesn't really have cross progression. It's its own gun in Black Ops 7. It's clearly the Black Ops 6 gun, but it's its own self in Black Ops 7 that I can like prestige twice and all that. I think that would be really cool. I mean, especially with the lack of carry forward, I think doing this would be a good way to keep people interested long term, because getting retro firearms just unlocked through challenges every few weeks, or maybe even every week do a different Black Ops 6 gun, you'd have like 50 weeks of challenges there. Be kind of cool. Now, hot take time. I'm sorry. This is unscripted. I'm just gonna go off here. Call of Duty players don't know what they want if they think the best thing for Call of Duty to be is a giant homogenized pile of garbage with a bunch of carryover skins and weapons all the time. Now, I get that carryover weapons is cool. As a content creator, yeah, I want more guns in my game. Zombies players wanting to use iconic Black Ops 6 weapons for zombies, I get that. I understand the complaint. But Call of Duty actually needs to not be a homogenized thing. It needs to justify its release every year. One of the things that old school COD players miss about COD from back in the 360 era is each game is defined definitively by its contents. And so, yes, Black Ops 7 not having carry forward, having new movement mechanics, having a diverse landscape of maps, taking place in the future when we haven't been to the future in a very long time in the series, is all good fucking things. This is what we need. We need COD to feel like it justifies coming out every year. Last year we got like a 90s era Black Ops game that was very, very tonally inconsistent and strange, but now we are getting a game that takes place in 2035 and is seemingly seeking to provide an aesthetic and vibe and tone that's very similar to what you would expect from like a Black Ops 2 sequel. Black Ops 2 came out over 10 years ago. Black Ops 3 is 10 years old. Black Ops 4 is like 7, 8 years old. We haven't touched that timeline of COD in a long time. To me, this is a breath of fresh air. We want this game to be itself and not just be a mirror of the game that came before it. We want to forget Black Ops 6 the way we forget every old COD when the new one comes out. That is not a bad thing. Saying, oh, it's the COD cycle is so reductionist, it hurts. Yeah, the COD cycle is that when you're a fan of an annual release franchise and a new entry comes out with new weapons, new perks, new maps, a new time period, a new campaign, a new zombies mode, new everything, then yeah, it's the gameplay experience you like from X franchise plus a bunch of new shit. So let's not get hung up on the old shit. Let's actually be really happy that they're giving us a game that's new, that is its own thing. I get so autistic about this. This pisses me off. I've been recently streaming, and you guys should subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified. I've been streaming like classic MW3, COD 4, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. They feel like definitive games in their own franchise. I don't care about the whole COD is the same every year, Battlefield better bullshit. Sorry, Battlefield is just as same shit, different hat as COD is. Like, Battlefield hasn't been an innovative leader in the FPS scene for fucking ever. Okay, so Call of Duty just being itself is not a problem. It doesn't really deserve any scrutiny for it being itself. Call of Duty as a franchise has major problems that I do hope get resolved or at least discussed by the publisher, by the developers when it comes to stuff like skill-based matchmaking, disbanding lobbies, and a lot of the other rumors and conspiracy theories surrounding the series. Anti-cheat's a big one. We need to talk about the serious things in COD, but more serious than not, the game itself, base level, needs to be its own iconic thing. Focused, deliberate, earnest, literally trying to be itself right in front of you. Let's not scrutinize Call of Duty for 1 second for being itself when it's charging you a full game's price for a new game. It better fucking be a new game, not a continuation of the old one. I loved Modern Warfare 3, but Modern Warfare 3 was also just miles better than Modern Warfare 2. It was improved Modern Warfare 2 in more ways than not. I don't want improved Black Ops 6, I want a new fucking Black Ops game. We don't want homogenized free-to-play COD, like just expansion release COD. We do not want that. You think you have it, you think every COD's the same, you do not want to see the reality where that actually becomes true and not just hyperbole thrown around by people with no critical thinking skills or the ability to look at other franchises and go, hey, that's just how being a video game franchise works. This needs to stop. The community can tear down a lot of Call of Duty's problems, that's good. Call of Duty does not need to be scrutinized for being fucking new. That is the last thing we need to pick on it for. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.